وعن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. أما بعد, we are in the Ihya Ulum Deen, and Imam al-Ghazali talks about the explanations of the different states of people regarding being praised or regarding being blamed or criticized. You can say madh, al-dham. Al-dham is a broader. Jazakallah khair, shukran. Thank you so much.
Do you know how to start the streaming? Because always said he is not seeing. He's remote, but he's not. Okay. Let me ask the.
In another word, he said how people react to being praised or being criticized. He said, أعلم أن للناس أربعة أحوال بالإضافة للذام والمادح. There's four conditions or four categories of people in the acting to the praise or criticism. الحالة الأولى, the first condition, أن يفرح بالمدح ويشكر المادح. A person become happy being praised and thanks the person who praised them. ويغضب من الذم ويحقد على الذام, and get angry for being criticized and have grudge against those who criticize them. ويكافئه أو يحب مكافأته, وهذا حال أكثر الخلق وهو غاية درجة المعصية في هذا الباب. He says that people also maybe want to get even with the person, either praise them back, but the person criticizes them, they criticize back. And he said this is the worst level of these conditions. الحالة الثانية أن يمتعض في الباطن على الذم ولكن يمسك لسانه وجوارحه من مكافأته. A person get very angry inside for somebody criticize them, but hold their tongue, they don't respond, they don't have revenge. ويفرح باطنه ويرتاح للمادح, and a person in their heart become very happy being praised. ولكن يحفظ ظاهره عن إظهار السرور, but does not show it in their face that they're happy. وهذا من النقصان. This is a person have not elevated themselves to calibrate to the positions of righteousness. إلا أنه بالإضافة إلى ما قبله كمال. But this state is better than the state before it. If a person is in this state, better than the state before it. الحالة الثالثة, the third conditions, وهو أول درجات الكمال. It is one of the first step of a person, the kamal, being a state of completions and goodness. What is it? أن يستوي عنده ذمه ومادحه فلا تؤمه المذمة ولا تسره المدح. It become equal that a person criticizes them, did not make them sad, person praise them, did not become overjoyed about it. وقد يظنه بعض العباد بنفسه ويكون مغرورا إن لم يمتحن نفسه بعلاماته, وعلاماته أن لا يجد في نفسه استثقالا للذام عند تطويله الجلوس عنده أكثر ما يجده في المادح. He said there's a way to measure this. He says that if a person starts criticizing you, you want them to leave quickly. If a person praises you, you want them to speak longer because they're praising you. He said this is a sign, there's indicators here. Let us talk about the psychology of this. let me finish this four things and then I'll talk about it. Because it's required for us to do psychoanalysis a little bit on this personality. قال ولا يجد في نفسه زيادة هزة ونشاط في قضايا حوادث المادح فوق ما يجده من قضايا حوادث الذم. He said, if somebody praise you and you're in the position of power, in the position of you can help people who praise you, you serve them well. And person who criticizes you, you deprive them. Nashat here means find the energy to do so, to help. ولا يكون انقطاع الذم من مجلسه أهون عليه من انقطاع المادح. He said the person should not have a person who criticizes them or give them what they call this, constructive criticism. Should not be like, oh, I'm so glad this person's not here. I'm so glad he's not in the meeting. I'm so glad because I want people to praise me in the meeting. I don't want anyone to challenge me in the meeting. But some people want meetings with no challenges. من انقطاع المادح. That a person will be feeling bad. The person who's praising them is not in the meeting. The person who criticizes them is in the meeting. ولا يكون موت المادح المطري له أشد نكاية في قلبه من موت الذام. That the person should not become very sad for the death of the person praising them all the time and the person criticizing them because they become happy that the person who criticizes them is dead. ولا يكون غمه بمصيبة المادح وما يناله من أعدائه أكثر مما يكون بمعصية الذام. بمصيبة الذام. ولا يكون غمه بمصيبة المادح وما يناله من أعدائه أكثر مما يكون بمصيبة الذام. He said that if a person that praise someone, always praising them, something bad happened to them, a person becomes sad, but if a person criticizes them, something happened to them, they become happy. Like, yeah, you deserve it, فمهما قال ولا تكون زلة المادح أخف على قلبه في عينه من زلة الذام. That's a very interesting psychology. That the person who praising us, if he made a mistake, we overlook it. The person who criticizes us, made a mistake, we exaggerate it. The Arabic saying, عين الرضا عن كل عيب كليلة وعين السخط تبدي المساوية. Said the pleasing eye does not see any wrong and deficiency in somebody. But the critical eye, it shows nothing but wrong of the other person. He says, فأما ما خف الذام على قلبه كما خف المادح والسواء من كل وجه فقد نال هذه الرتبة وما بعد ذلك وما شده على القلوب. He said very difficult to love the person who criticizes you equal to the person praise you. وأكثر العباد فرح بمدح الناس لهم مستبطن في قلوبهم وهم لا يشعرون حيث لا يمتحنون أنفسهم بهذه العلامات. He said most people, their love of praise is something in their heart. It is there in their heart, even if they don't feel it, they don't realize it, because they don't check themselves. وربما يشعر العابد بميل قلبه للمادح دون الذام. These things really become very clear. Have you sat in the class of Tajweed? Tajweed. Class. Tajweed. Collective in Tajweed in Quran. The sheikh that let go, some people they're happy with the sheikh. But if you let go of your mistakes, you recite the Quran wrongly or not perfectly. But there's a shuyukh, they will not let you go. It says, qalqala. لقد خلقنا. You don't قد الإنسان في أحسن تقويم. They go after the qalqala. They don't let you go. But other sheikh said, it's not a big deal. For a person become happy with the sheikh that let go, and they don't like the sheikh that too much in insisting on the tajweed. Sometimes you have a gray hair, like me, and you go to find Sheikh in Medina, and you sit in the halaqa, so can I recite to you? Recite, then he correct you 3-4 times. If you feel in your heart like, why is he correcting me so much? But you ask for it, you want to learn. You know? And let me tell you about the psychology of this issue. This issue is about ego. Ego. Sometimes we do worship our ego. And the egoism comes from the fact that I want nothing but people to say good things about me. There's some people very sensitive, they're very sensitive to criticism. They're very sensitive to the extent that if we to correct them in a small thing, so, well, who are you to correct me? If you tell them you're wrong, they become very angry. That anger comes from the fact that the person have not put their ego into check. There is no person above this, supposed to be, no human being. You know, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he asked for feedback. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked for feedback. Ashiru alayhi. Oh, people, give me an opinion. Give me advice. When some of them gave him advice and the rest was silent, he didn't like it. قال أيها الناس أشيروا علي. Oh, people, give me your opinion, your feedback. And this, a man from Ansar, قال يا رسول الله ويكأنك تعنينا. Do you really mean us to say something? Because Muhajirin spoke. But the Ansar have not spoken yet. They say, Ya Rasulullah, do whatever Allah ordered you to do. If you cross the sea, you ask us to cross the sea, we'll cross it with you. In Badr, Rasulullah him and his companion camped in one area. الصحابي النم خباب بن الأرت قال يا رسول الله هذا منزل أنزلكه الله. It is a place Allah have asked you to stay at, or it is your own strategy? He says, my own strategy. He said, Ya Rasulullah, it's not the best place to go, to stay. I need to change location. He didn't say, I'm Rasulullah. No, I made this decision. You cannot. Ego become a big problem in people accepting a criticism or even feedback. The other things in this issue is the issue of humility. Issue of humility is that you have leaders of an army, like Khalid bin Walid, was taken and become a soldier in the army, and he did not create a problem. It is very important for all of us to put our ego in check. How do we accept criticism? And how we look into the advice was given to us. There's something very important though. In giving people feedback, we cannot be disrespectful. A person who giving the advice cannot be disrespectful. It is true that one of the Khalifa have asked, he said, can I get someone to soften my heart? I want somebody to give it to me, so my heart is to soften. For this guy, they said to him, the Khalifa, you guys, you always want to confront Khalifa, want to speak to the Amir, to the ruler. You go and talk to him. He entered the palace and started criticizing him and almost like cursing him. The guy said, hey, take it easy. I do want to be advised, but your method is wrong. He said, Allah have sent who's better than you to the man worse than me. And yet he said to them, قُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Speak softly to him. Who are those two people? Musa and Harun alayhi salam. Allah sent Musa and Harun alayhi salam to Fir'aun, to Pharaoh. And he said, speak to him gently, softly. Because that approach might lead to soften his heart. Was Fir'aun's heart softened? Was not. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us this is a methodology of softening people's hearts. Don't change your methodology regardless of how other people receive your message, whether they are receptive or not. And Allah knew that Fir'aun will never accept Islam. But Musa has to do what he has to do. I don't change my methodology because I don't like somebody. You know what I'm saying? Perfection belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, part of this journey, spiritual journey, is that to accept advice even from your enemy. Because sometimes they're very critical looking at you. And you look at the merits of it, the merits. Is it something that I'm doing wrong or something I need to change? It's one of the most important aspects of this whole teaching that Imam Ghazali is talking about. It is how we condition our hearts to be connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to make our objective and worries Allah. من كان همه هما واحدا كفاه الله سائر الهموم. Whoever his worries, all his worries become a single worry, which is worry about Allah. Allah take care of all their worries. The other aspect of this is that we can understand ourselves, where we are in terms of the ego and arrogance and so forth, by checking the list that Imam al-Ghazali have set here. Are we having grudge on somebody who correct us? Sometimes even a person lead the salah, make a mistake in salah. And this, by the way, happened to Hufaz and Qurra and so forth. They become so upset they were corrected in their heart. The Sheikh used to tell me that. He said the worst things happen to Hafiz if he made a mistake and fatahu alayhi. The people, tell him, and he would become angry, especially if you hear a voice of somebody that you don't want to hear their voice. If they waited a little bit, I could have corrected myself. Why they jump like a person become very upset and irritated? And this is from shaitan. From shaitan. You know Imam al-Kasai? Imam al-Kasai. You heard of him? Kasai. Imam al-Kasai, one of the great Qurra, was leading the prayer and he made a mistake. He said, the mistake I made, he said, children don't make a mistake in Qur'an, but he's a Sheikh of Qur'an. And behind him were rulers and ministers and so praying that night with him. And he made a mistake. Some of them were hesitant to correct him because it's maybe a riwayah, we don't know. Therefore they asked him after finished, is it a riwayah or a mistake? He said, there's a mistake. I made a mistake. And he said, because that day when I was reciting, I heard myself. I like it because I did very well. I heard myself. Hearing himself. Heard himself. And he said, I like it. Kabra fi nafsi. Enlarge in myself. Allah made me make a mistake. That children don't make a mistake. They don't make it in the Quran. Therefore, the issue of humility is very important in acknowledging mistake we made. But as I shared with you last time, there's a methodology of correcting people based on their age. And an elderly person who has been corrected different than a young person. Although there's something in common between them, which is gentleness and kindness. It's common between them. But the tone of language, the tone of how to speak, you don't talk to your spouse as you talk to your children. They will not accept that from you. Say, I'm not one of your children. I'm your spouse. Don't talk to me like that. And you don't talk to a scholar like talking to a average person. There's a language you use. Okay? But a scholar, an elderly person, should not feel above criticism. That's a problem. That is very important. That a person criticizing somebody, even who's a scholar, that the person should look into that merits. A person is in a position of power. People criticizing them, they also should look into that criticism. The last thing I want to say, and then we'll go back to the writing of the Imam. Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, has psychoanalysis of human behavior. This is all psychoanalysis. Say you wrote a post in your Facebook. You talk about something and then all the thumb went down. Like, dislike. You have an option to say, what did I write that was not right? You know what I mean? And if the thumb is up, don't take that as a good thing all the time. Because sometimes people praise you for the wrong thing. They like controversial things. They like, vulgar language. See whose the thumb is up. If you write something and the people who the thumb is up is righteous people, then it's alhamdulillah. But if the people saying up is people that you know in the wrong crowd, that means you cross the line to the other side. And therefore we can check ourselves to see how much will be open to hear criticism and how much we get to put our ego in check with praising people praising us. You know? Then Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah, then he said, he says, وربما يشعر العابد بميل قلبه إلى المادح دون الذام والشيطان يحسن له ذلك ويقول له الذام قد عصى الله بمذمتك والمادح قد أطاع الله بمدحك فكيف تسوي بينهما وإنما استثقالك للذام من الدين المحض. He said, Shaitan comes to you and says, the person who praises you has got a reward, and the person who criticizes you have disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot make them equal. Therefore, disliking somebody who criticizes you is part of you following the religion, Deen al-Mahd. Then he said, وَهَذَا مَحْضُ التَّلْبِيسِ. He said, and that is the problem with Shaitan confusing you. فإن العابد لو تفكر, if a worshipper, if contemplate and reflects, علم أن في الناس من ارتكب مكابر المعاصي أكثر ما ارتكبه الذام في مذمته ثم أنه لا يستشغلهم ولا ينفر عنهم. He said a person then check themselves. You may find people who commit major sins, but you never dislike them. But you dislike a person who criticizes you. Shaitan said this person have committed ma'asiyah, but some people commit greater ma'asiyah with disobedience than this person. ويعلم أن المادح الذي مدحه لا يخلو من مذمة غيره ولا يجد في نفسه نفرة منه لمذمته غيره مجد لمذمة نفسه، والمذمة من حيث إنها معصية لا تختلف بأن يكون هو المذموم أو غيره. يعني if criticism is a sin, it doesn't matter whether being criticized or other being criticized. فإذا العابد المغرور لنفسه يغضب. He said a person who worships Allah and arrogance, you get angry when being criticized. ولهواه يمتعد، ثم الشيطان يخيل له أنه من الدين حتى يعتاد على الله يعتدي على الله بهواه، حتى يعتدى على الله بهواه فيزيده ذلك بعدا من الله. ومن لم يطلع على مكائد الشيطان وآفات النفوس فأكثر عبادته تعب ضايع يفوت عليه الدنيا ويخسر في الآخرة. وفيهم قال الله تعالى: قل هل أنبئكم بالأخسرين أعمالا الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا. He said the problem is the wrong perceptions and conceptions in relationship. You know Sudanese culture بيقولوا شنو يا أخي؟ أسمع كلام مبكيك ولا كلام مضحكك. You know the Sudanese culture? Listen to the person may make you cry rather than the person make you laugh. It is not always correct, but to some extent that may somebody like a child. You have a child at home. A child wants chocolate before he goes to sleep. And he said, you cannot get chocolate. You just brush your teeth. You're going to have cavity. And the child starts crying. That child will thank you later in life. But somebody else said, oh, why are you making them cry? So what if they have cavity? Give them chocolate. And the child starts laughing. Therefore, the person made them cry for their own benefit, and the person made them laugh is against them. But let me give you I give myself advice and then share it with you. A person does not seek advice, does not seek people who give them critical or constructive criticism, is a person tend to make more mistakes than the person seek that. And the person have more regret than the person seek advice. Rasul said, Al-mu'minu mir'atu akhihi. A believer is a reflection, is a mirror of another believer. What are the characteristics of a mirror? Why you go to the mirror? To look to yourself. If a person have to have someone to go to them to look to themselves. What is the characteristic of the mirror? Reflects, does not lie. The second, it tells things as they are because you seek advice. The third, mirror does what? If the mirror is not clean, can you see yourself? Therefore, don't go seek advice from someone not sincere. You have to be a person that's sincere and give you advice that is really a good reflection. And the other characteristic of mirror? You point everything, but mirror does not walk to you, does it? You walk to it. You have to make the effort. That requires courage. Require courage. The last things is the mirror that you seek. If she'll tell you that you need to comb your hair, what do? You react there. Therefore, you respond. Otherwise, why you go to the mirror? Then you have to do something about it. The other thing about mirrors, does not shout at you. There's a soft way of telling you that no one spoke like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No one. أوتيت جوامع الكلم. Allah gave me the ability to speak precise, short sentences, a lot of wisdoms. It doesn't shout at you. The other thing is that in order to see yourself in the mirror, what needs to happen? You need to have light. If there's a mirror and there's dark, can you see yourself? The mirror exists. You exist. Why am I not seeing myself? There's no light. Or the person who's blind looking at himself in the mirror. I'm going to help them. There's the blindness of the soul. There's the blindness of the heart. You get my point? You need to turn the light on in order to go to see the mirror. Okay? Therefore, it is the inner mirror that we're looking for, to look to our heart. As Imam al-Ghazali said in Ayyuha al-Walad, the other book, that when a person looks to the mirror and sees themselves look good, as if Allah telling them, حسنت منظرك للخلق سنين ولم تحسن منظري ساعة. You care about how people look at you for years, but never care about how I'm looking at you, which is in your heart. You never beautify your heart. And beautification of the heart is to clean heart from envy, from hatred, from jealousy, have pure tawheed in it. That is the beautification of the heart. There's so much an illusion in this world and wrong way of viewing people. And if a person have the insight, the spiritual insight, and look to the word through the lenses of his spirituality and relation with Allah, they have the unique perspective. They have a unique perspective of life. Was in that Imam Malik, rahimahullah, was walking in the street, and a man walking in front of him saw a dog, and he didn't like how the dog looked like. He said, "Oh my God, an ugly dog." He said, "This ugly dog. ما أقبح هذا الكلب." قال الإمام مالك رحمه الله said to the man, يا هذا أتسب الصنعة أم الصانع؟ أتسب الصنعة أم الصانع? Are you criticizing the creature or the creator? Are you saying Allah did not do a good job creating this dog? جاء في الأثر that Isa alayhi salam was walking with his companion, his disciples, and they passed by a dead donkey. It stinks, it smells. Everybody did what? Hold their nose from the smelling of the dead donkey. You know what Isa alayhi salam said? قال انظروا إلى بياض أسنانه. Look at his white teeth. So white, the teeth. In a dead animal, I've seen the whiteness of the teeth. There's a criterion, there's a method by which we can hold ourselves accountable in our relationship with others. Which is, I'm going to mention 3 of them. Number 1, we have to be able to have ability to filter things being said to us. Filtering it. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by this? In communication, there's something called filtering. Filter. You drive your car and you are a Muslim, you hear something about Turkey and Syria. Earthquake. It rings a bell more than a person maybe not Muslim. Although I think all people sometimes, just humanity, or a human being. But if you are Turkish and you're hearing it, it will impact you more. If you are Syrian, you're hearing it, impact you more. If you are from the city where the earthquake took place, impact you more. Because you resonate with it, connect with it. Therefore, because you share faith with Turkish, you share nationality if you're Turkish, you share geography if you are from the same city, therefore it's impacting you in different level, isn't it? Although, if something happened anywhere, myself, I get impacted by that. You know? If they hear something happened to the Rohingya, something happened, people in Nepal, if there's an earthquake, it impacts my heart. Because they're human beings. And we share humanity, sharing humanity. Now, that's the first thing. Filtering. The second, personality management. There's some people who are very harsh, and there's some people very soft. The harsh person, خذ العفو وأمر بالعرف وأعرض عن الجاهلين. خذ العفو, forgive. أمر بالعرف, order what is acceptable. Turn away from the ignorant people, jahilin. There's some people who are harsh. The third is that every night before I go to sleep, I have to ask myself, did I say the right thing to Kazim? Did I speak the way that I spoke to Brother Rida? If Brother Kazim comes to me and says, I think you were harsh when you talk to me. I just say like, you deserve it. No. Astaghfirullah al-Azim. What is this? I didn't say anything. This is me. Really? You don't care about people? You don't do that. Therefore, we have to do self-check. I cannot change my standards, how to speak to people because of the reaction of others. Allah will ask me about what I did, not about how other people reacted. I will say one thing that maybe you can, I think we're going to take longer to talk about the Hala al-Rabi'ah. Yeah. The fourth, وهي الصدق في العبادة. To be truthful in the way we worship Allah. أن يكره المدح ويمقت المادح. يعلم أنه فتنة عليه قاصمة للظهر مضرة له في الدين. Do not accept praise, exaggerated praise. Then people said, did Imam Ghazali asking us to be around people who create low self-esteem? People always criticizing us? No. He's talking here about exaggeration of praising. A person believes that you do no wrong. Absolutely. Some people do this for individuals, some people do this for country. Do not hold the country accountable. A particular country is like, no matter what they do, we're not going to accept them to be criticized. Really? Who's above that? Therefore, ويحب الذام أن يعلم أنه مودين إليه عيوبه. And the person then they love the criticism being given to them, constructive criticism, because the person showed them their shortcoming. ومرشد له إلى مهمه ومهد إليه حسناته. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم رأس التواضع أن تكره أن تذكر بالبر والتقوى. He said that there's a hadith, actually the other hadith said من رأس التواضع أن تبدأ من لقيته بالسلام وأن ترضى بالدون من شرف المجلس وتكره المدحة والسمعة والرياء بالبر. He said there's a hadith عن Ibn Mas'ud, the correct hadith narration, that Rasul sallallahu said the peak of humility, you initiate salam when you meet somebody. لقيته بالسلام. وأن ترضى بالدون من شرف المجلس. You accept to sit whatever is available for you when you enter a social gathering. You don't insist to sit in the front. And then he says, وأن تكره المدحة والسمعة والرياء, that you don't like showing off and people praising you all the time. This is, by the way, hadith marfu'an an Ali رضي الله عنه كرم الله وجهه. طيب، وقد روى في بعض الأخبار ما هو قاسم لظهور أمثالنا إن صح يدروا أن صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ويل للصائم ويل للقائم ويل لصاحب الصوف إلا. This hadith فقيل يا رسول الله إلا من؟ قال إلا من تنزهت نفسه عن الدنيا وأبغض المدحة واستحب المذمة، وهذا شديد جدا. This hadith actually there is no kind of chain of transmission being looked for, and therefore it perhaps is a saying of someone that's saying that a person who fast, the qiyam, but they like to brag, they like to show off. It become a problem for them because they're not doing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وقالت أمثال الطمع في الحالة الثانية هو أن يضمر الفرح والكراهة للذام والمادح ولا يترك ذلك بالقول. He said, and one of the things more practical, more doable, is people in the second condition, that a person does not show happiness or joy, being praised so much, or disliking person criticizing them. He said, and the third condition, a person might not get to that condition where someone who praising them and criticizing them become equal. ثم إن طلابنا لأنفسنا بعلامات الحالة الثانية فهي لا تفنى فإنها لا تفي بها فإنها لا بد وأن تتسارع إلى إكرام المادح وقضاء حاجاته. He said that it is not possible that a person will not be generous and not being kind to the person being kind to them. تتعاقل عن إكرام الذام والثناء عليه وقضاء حوائجه ولا تقدر على أن تسوي بينهما في الفعل الظاهر. He said it's not possible as a human being, more likely you will not become equal in way you react when somebody criticizes you or somebody praises you. You're going to smile, you're going to show. Yeah. كما لا نقدر عليه في سرية القلب ومن قدر على التسوية بين الذام والمادح في ظاهر الفعل فهو جدير من اتخذ قدوة بهذا الزمان إن وجد. He said if a person are able to treat the person criticizing him and person praise them equal, that person should be taken as an example. But he said there's not many of them. وكل واحد من هذه الرتب أيضا فيها درجات. أما الدرجات في المدح فإن من الناس من يتمنى المدحة والثناء وانتشار الصيت ويتوصل إلى نيل ذلك بكل ممكن حتى يراعي بالعبادات. He said some people are obsessed, have obsession being praised, obsession being recognized, and then he said would do whatever it takes, showing off and telling people that how many qiyam they did and so that people can recognize them. And he said sometimes that leads a person even lying. ومنهم من يريد ذلك ويطلبه بالمباحات ولا يطلبه بالعبادات. There's some people they do this, but they use it with the mubah, not with ibadah. What do you mean by that? Al-mubah is something that clothing and so forth. You want to be known like the person who the most famous of this, most famous of that. مباحات. وهذا على شفا جرف النهار فإن حدود الكلام الذي يستميل به القلوب وحدود الأعمال لا يمكنه أن يضبطها ويوشك أن يقع فيما لا يحل لنيل الحمد فهو قريب من الهالكين جدا. He said that the person who does things with the acceptable, lawful things also can get into the zone where he start doing haram. ومنهم من لا يريد المدحة ولا يسعى لطلبها ولكن إذا مدح سبق السرور إلى قلبه فإن لم يقابل ذلك بالمجاهدة ولم يتكلف الكراهة فهو قريب من يستجره فرط السرور إلى الرتبة التي قبلها. He said, and there's another group of people categories does not seek praise. They don't want to people to recognize them. But if being praised, happiness comes to their heart, but they need to work hard بالمجاهدة in disciplining themselves so that they not become arrogant. And that's, he said, خطر المجاهدة means in dealing with struggling with oneself, sometimes you become weak. you become weakened. He said you have to be strong. ومنهم من يكره المدح إذا سمعه ولكن لا ينتهي به يغضب على المادح وينكر عليه. There's some people they don't like to be praised, but they don't stop people who praising them. وأقصى درجات أن يكره ويغضب ويظهر الغضب وهو صادق فيه ألا يظهر الغضب وقلبه محب للمدح. He talked about something so deep. He said that a person might dislike being praised, but in their heart they like it. وكذلك بالضد من هذا تفاوت الأحوال في حق الذام وأول درجاته إظهار الغضب وأخيرها إظهار الفرح ولا يكون الفرح إظهاره إلا ممن في قلبه حنق وحقد على نفسه. Let me summarize this to you because I read this several times. He said that the most important aspect of this is that a person who received the criticism, he should look to what he wants from himself. What standard do you have for yourself? And if people have said to you about what you're doing and what you're saying, it does not match the standard that you put for yourself, then you should work on it. If your standard is so low, there is something wrong of your himma. You have to have always, you want to be the best in spiritual sense, in the moral sense. Don't accept the low level. And that make you always yourself be able to have muhasaba, accountability. But there's something that I want to end this class with. You have to differentiate between people who also put you down all the time. It's not self-criticism. It's not constructive criticism. No, they make fun of how you look. That's not acceptable. You don't have any control of your look. They make fun of your race, of your color. You don't accept that. That's not criticism. They no matter what you do, they think that is not good enough. And material things. They criticize the car you drive. They criticize the home that you have. Those are the people, drop them like a bad habit. They don't have time for that. What you do, if somebody give me a sincere advice of something that I'm doing is bordering haram, or somebody give me a nasiha to do something I can be able to do, get me more hasanat. Rasulullah said that about Abdullah ibn Umar. He's a good man. لو كان يقيم الليل, if you start praying at night, tahajjud, he praised him. That's the way you do things. He praised somebody and then encourage them. But if you always see nothing but the negative of that person, that's wrong. You see the Rasul how he did it? He said, نعم الرجل, a good man, لو يقيم الليل, a little bit, do something with it. Tahajjud. That's how we deal with our children. That's how we deal with our friends, how we deal with family members. If we're always criticizing people and overlooking their good things, people will disconnect from us. The opposite is correct. If you're praising people all the time, it becomes like hypocrisy. You never see something wrong with them. You never criticize. That's also a problem. There's a balance between them. And as I said before, you know how to say it. When you say it, that's very important. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت عافنا فيمن عافيت تولنا فيمن توليت اكفنا شر ما قضيت انك تقضي بالحق والله يقضى عليك اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما تفرقنا من بعد تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فينا ولا منا ولا بيننا شقينا ولا محروما وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا جزاكم الله خير السلام عليكم. Next week we'll begin for those who following the book في طلب الجاه والمنزلة بالعبادات وهو الرياء. We're going to talk about رياء next week إن شاء الله. بارك الله فيكم. عليكم السلام. أنا رجلي تعبانة. الله يسلمك يا شيخنا. أنا رجلي تعبانة شو. أنا وقعت على رجلي. I had an accident. I had an accident. Who's going to call her that? أذن.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا